The former police officer who has waged a war against the men in blue is still missing.
A memorial will be held on Sunday for a top U.S. sniper.
Say goodbye to red light cameras. San Diego says goodbye to red light cameras. Excuse me.
And the new Northeast is bracing for a winter storm, and we've seen rain in our weather forecast. Stay tuned. Newscene starts right now.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Newscene. I'm Isidro Morales.
And I'm Nate Holmes. Thank you for joining us.
California authorities are searching for an ex-cop suspected of killing at least 3 and going on a cop killing spree. Giovanni Field has the latest on the development. So Giovanni, what's going on with the manhunt?
The Los Angeles and San Diego Police Department are on a manhunt to capture an ex-LAPD officer on a residential personal vendetta against their own. Charlie Viramontes was on the scene with more details.
A former police officer and ex-Navy Lieutenant Christopher Jordan Dorner has been waging a war against the men in blue.
Any officer that is in uniform has to approach this suspect with great concern because this guy has shown the propensity to shoot at anybody in a uniform.
In his manifesto, which he posted on Facebook, Dorner complained that he had been railroaded out of the department. He filed a report of police brutality by another officer as well as racism within the LAPD. He was fired in 2008 for allegedly making false statements.
Yes, obviously he had issues and our department got rid of him for whatever reasons, but he is not one of us.
On Sunday, Dorner killed Monica Kwan and her fiancée, the daughter of a retired LA police officer. Kwan was also the officer who handled his appeal.
Police officers believe a man that fits the description of Dorner was trying to steal a boat here in San Diego. Later on, they found his identification as well as an LAPD's officer's badge here at Lindbergh Field.
Thursday morning, Dorner allegedly shot at police officers who were protecting targets from his deathless manifesto. One officer was injured. He was able to escape.
He knows what he's doing, and we trained him.
A few minutes later, police say he attacked 2 officers, killing one and injuring another, while sitting at a stoplight in Riverside.
Well, I would tell him to turn himself in. This has gone far enough. Nobody else needs to die.
Dorner's truck was found in flames at Big Bear Mountain in Southern California. Dorner's a fugitive and on the run. I'm Charlie Viramontes, Newscene.
Police spent all night searching the snowy mountains of Southern California, but were unable to find the former LA cop. Thank you, Nate and Isidro. It looks like Big Bear, California is the ground zero, and the search continues.
Well, let's hope they find the suspect real soon and no more deaths. Thank you, Giovanni. Big news this week for anyone who owns a gun in California. On Tuesday, Democratic lawmakers proposed legislation that would require gun owners to purchase liability insurance to cover the injuries or damages caused by their weapons. This legislation would encourage gun owners to attend firearm safety classes and keep their weapons locked up for lower rates. Similar bills are being introduced in many states, including Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and New York.
He's been called an American hero and an American patriot. This week, he was tragically gunned down at a shooting range in Texas. The suspect reportedly admired him and was known by the victim. Our Newscene reporter Kevin McCoy has more.
Retired Navy SEAL sniper and best-selling author Chris Kyle has the most confirmed kills of any U.S. sniper in American history. Over 150 confirmed by the Department of Defense. Kyle did not dwell on this number, but the number of lives he saved utilizing his skill during his 4 combat tours to Iraq with SEAL Team 3.
Chris was saving the lives of his fellow teammates, as well as various other people in the area that were friendlies with us.
On Saturday, Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield were gunned down at a shooting range in Texas by former Marine and Iraqi war veteran Eddie Ray Ruth. Ruth was charged this week with 2 counts of capital murder. Ruth has been taken twice in recent months to a mental hospital and told police he was suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Kyle believed outdoor recreational therapy was a way to help treat his fellow veterans with physical and mental disabilities.
Chris's work with the veterans was really deep. So he worked with a lot of guys that had both PTSD as well as physical injuries. He suffered from his own, if you will, PTSD issues. Originally when he got out, he found out where the light was at the end of the tunnel and he moved to the light.
Kyle started writing a book of his service in Iraq as part of his own recovery in 2009. American Sniper, co-written by Kyle and Scott McEwen, spent 9 months on the bestseller list in 2012. Since his unexpected death, his book returned to the #1 bestseller on all lists nationally. I'm Kevin McCoy with Newscene.
A memorial ceremony will be held on Monday for Chris Kyle. The funeral procession will stretch from Dallas through Austin. Kyle survived by his wife Taya and his 2 children.
The death toll of Sunday's Delhi bus crash has now risen to 8. The driver of the pickup truck that was struck head-on by the tour bus died earlier this week at a California hospital. The California Highway Patrol, along with the National Transportation Safety Board, is investigating the company of the motor coach, which is stationed here in National City.
Today, the NTSB split up into 2 teams. The motor carrier group was down in the San Diego area interviewing the owner of the company and one of the mechanics that works for the company. The other investigator was here today examining the interior of the motor coach bus.
The United States Postal Service is cutting its delivery hours. USPS has announced its plan to cancel mail delivery on Saturdays. The change will take effect in early August for mail sent to residential addresses. Packages will still be delivered on Saturdays, but not letters. The Postmaster General claims the new schedule will help the industry recover from losing $16 billion last year.
This announcement today is just one part of a much larger strategy to return the Postal Service to long-term financial stability.
It is expected to save the Postal Service $2 billion annually. Mail sent to P.O. boxes will not be affected.
And for the first time in years, drivers who pass through the intersection at Grape and Harbor Drive are not seeing red light cameras. San Diego Mayor Bob Filner had a news conference and said the cameras just weren't worth it. Newscene reporter Riley Oakes was along the Embarcadero as the first set of cameras came down.
Mayor Bob Filner has given the green light to stop red light cameras across the city of San Diego. And as the first cameras came down, Bob Filner kept his campaign promise to get rid of the controversial cameras that have been capturing drivers running red lights for more than a decade. Filner says San Diego's red light cameras aren't making the city any real money, and there's no real proof they make the streets safer, so he's decided to pull the plug.
The city, by the way, contrary to, I guess, perceived opinion, the city doesn't make any money on this. It's a wash for us, although the state and the private vendor make money.
Filner also said the cameras make drivers hostile, and they aren't good for tourism.
And here's the welcome that we give to San Diego. Welcome to San Diego. Here's a $500 fine.
Filner also claimed the red light cameras may have led to more rear-end accidents because people slam on their brakes at the last minute to avoid getting a ticket.
So if someone stops because they see that sign and there's a rear end, that doesn't make that any safer. In fact, it made it less safe.
Now, for the first time in years, drivers who pass through the intersection at Grape and Harbor Drive will not be seeing red light cameras. Reporting along the Embarcadero, Riley Oakes, Newscene.
And if you get a red light ticket in the mail in the coming weeks, don't tear it up. If you were issued a ticket by the city of San Diego before February 1st, the city plans to hold you accountable.
Some bad news for those who park in downtown San Diego. The Westfield Horton Plaza Mall is going away with its free 3-hour parking. Those parking in the shopping center will no longer be able to get free parking with validation. Instead, visitors will have to make a minimum $10 purchase for 3 hours. If you plan on parking without a purchase, you will have to pay $8 for every hour, $2 for every 15 minutes, and a $20 flat rate for parking after 9 p.m. And the Boy Scouts are considering a major policy.
The ice sticks and pucks are ready to go. We'll tell you what sport is making a comeback.